What happened to the world-class African city? The city of Johannesburg, a once thriving economic epicenter, stands as a testament to the ebbs and flows of urban development. Over the past few years, it has become known for dumped waste sites, a crime, a broken infrastructure, hijacked buildings and restrictions on water and electricity. Last week, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the establishment of the Presidential Johannesburg Working Group in an effort to resolve some of these issues. For more on this, we are now joined by a member of the Mayoral Committee for Housing in the City of Johannesburg, Mlungisi Mabaso. MMC, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. Before we go into some of the plans that you have and the work that you'll be doing, considering that you have the Presidential Working Group as well as that 7.7 billion rand budget being approved by the city, I want to start off here. From your observation and what you have read into the situation, what happened to the world-class African city?
Well, thank you very much, and greetings to the viewers at home and yourself. I think what has happened previously, there were challenges around the bylaw enforcement in the inner city. There were also challenges of keeping criminal activities that are happening. We couldn't protect properties from getting hijacked. There are also issues of maintenance, both in the properties and in the infrastructure. And that has allowed people in the inner city to take over, especially the criminals, to take over the inner city. They started operating there, and it got out of hand, and it was very difficult now for the JMPD to enforce bylaws, for the building control to deal with illegal structures, especially within the properties, but also for us to chase the decaying infrastructure in terms of maintenance, and for the police to deal with criminal activities that are happening in the inner city. So these things were not dealt with at the time, and we allowed it to persist, and that's why we find ourselves in this situation now.
Yeah. Could it also be that the deterioration, the deterioration would have started maybe years ago, that it continued to happen from one thing to another, to another, to another? I know that you're from the IFP, and some of your constituents you'd find, for instance, in hostels. And I just quickly want to paint this picture for you. I come from the townships. And we know in the townships, in the early hours of the morning, before sunrise sometimes, it happens, I guess, with rural areas as well, you'd find Omama cleaning the curb right in front of their yard, which doesn't belong to them, it belongs to the city. Ordinarily, the city is supposed to be cleaning those curbs, but it was left up to Omama to do it, and Abomama have been doing it. And the situation became so bad that the deterioration has now also affected other parts of the city, including the parks that are not maintained.
Yeah, yes, that's the fact. Even in the hostels where I grew up, my own mother in the morning used to wake up and clean the spaces adjacent to our room, and that's one thing that we have always been encouraging, that we need to collaborate and work with our residents in cleaning our spaces. Well, even those that are in the inner city, the informal traders, we always encourage them to clean the spaces that they are operating in, because they are also throwing waste everywhere. And when you get into their spaces, it is not clean. You provide them with the bins and the plastic. They just don't want to clean their spaces where they are operating. And that is the challenge that we are actually facing. Yes, I agree that over the years, the city has not been able to maintain its infrastructure. Hence, we find ourselves in this predicament. And that's why in my preamble, I did indicate that part of the things that has led to what the inner city is now is because there was never, we've never paid much attention in the maintenance of the infrastructure, and that's why our infrastructure is decaying the way it is decaying now.
Yeah, I would also say that there needs to be a change in approach. The inner city, as an example, if you look at it currently, it didn't used to house so many people, but it is what it is currently. Even in the townships you have the back rooms and you have the zozos that people have as well to try and supplement the money that they don't have, or trying to make a sort of an income. Is that if you look at the refuse removal, the refuse is being removed weekly, but the number of people in the townships have increased. The number of people in the inner city has increased. Surely refuse can't be removed once a week. It has to be done more than once a week, because otherwise you have the type of rubbish that is piling up that we are currently seeing on our screens.
Yeah, well, I think it's a known fact that Johannesburg has experienced influx. Every day, every week, every month, we are receiving thousands of people migrating to the city to seek economic opportunities. That's the fact. Our budget is not growing, so resources are not sufficient to respond to the service delivery challenges on the ground, considering the number of residents that we are expected to service. And that is the biggest challenge. Waste removal, yes, pick it up is on the ground, they are working. In terms of resources, not sufficient, but I think they are doing what actually they have in terms of the resources and responding to the collection of waste. But I can tell you that City Power each and every year they are trying to recruit more personnel so that they are able to augment the resources that they have in terms of the employees that are on the ground. They are in a process now of getting more trucks so that they are able to collect more waste, considering the number of people that we are servicing, the number of informal settlements that we have now in the city of Johannesburg. In the hostels, there are people that are employed now to start cleaning the spaces within the hostel. So all those interventions, we are trying to address those issues that you are raising, and that's why we are employing more people in our spaces so that we are able to keep our spaces clean. We do have challenges within our parks. The part of the discussion that we had previously with the MMC for community development was that we need to make sure that the park rangers that have been there protecting our parks are recruited again. We put in more resources so that they are there on the parks on daily basis to protect the park, because part of the challenge that we're encountering is that we've got vagrants that are roaming around the parks. Others are using parks now as their residential areas, which now exposing our residents to risk and to security challenges, because they are getting marked now. There are cases of drugs smuggling within the parks because our parks are not that protected. And that's why we said we need to have park rangers that will be there to make sure that there is protection of our residents, especially within the parks.
What's the plan now with the working group to ensure that we get better services? You look, for instance, at the property market. The Gauteng province is the only province that has noted a decrease in the value of their properties, whereas the Western Cape, as an example, their property values have increased by 7.6%, whereas in Gauteng it's declining. And we know the majority of households are found in the city of Johannesburg. How do we turn this corner?
Yeah, well, we welcomed and appreciated the intervention from the president because some of the challenges that we are faced with in the city of Johannesburg, they require the national interventions. I mean, they are not within our scope of responsibility as local government. For example, in the inner city, we've got foreign nationals that have occupied the space. Some of them have hijacked buildings. We have no mandate to deal with them. It's only Home Affairs that can deal with them. Buildings are getting hijacked. There are criminal activities that are happening, which some of those activities are beyond the scope of JMPD. We need a South African Police Service. We need intelligence to work with us. We've got illegal miners. They are contributing towards the infrastructure decaying because they are operating illegally underground, which affects our infrastructure. The integrity of our infrastructure is compromised because of the illegal mining that is happening in Johannesburg. That requires the national government intervention because we have no responsibility over that. In the informal settlements, you've got undocumented foreign nationals and documented foreign nationals. They have illegally occupied spaces. You require a national government. And the resources that we have 7 billion of capital budget. It's not sufficient to respond to all these challenges. And most of the resources that we are operating with, we receive from national government. So one way or the other, we have always been crying for the intervention of national government. And that's why we have appreciated this intervention from the president, because it is going to assist us. And we need that collaborated approach for us to reclaim back our city. We are never going to do it alone as the City of Johannesburg, because we do not have that kind of financial muscle. But over and above that, our scope of responsibility is limited to certain activities. Hence, the national government intervention was required. So we really appreciate the intervention by the president, because it is going to assist us to curb some of the illegal activities that we've been battling with. I've written letters to national government. MMC for Public Safety has made a call for the intervention of national government. The mayor himself has actually written to the president, and that's why the president responded, because it was as a result of the executive mayor in the City of Johannesburg asking the president to intervene in Johannesburg, because we came to realize that most of the challenges we'll deal with them, but the reality is that the national government and the provincial government is also required in the space so that they are able to assist us with their resources, but also there are work and activities that require them to intervene, because they are mandated to do so and we are not. And that's why we were happy when the president and the cabinet visited Johannesburg, because at the time we then realized that finally we are going to get it right, because all three spheres of government will be working together in dealing with these challenges that we are facing in Johannesburg.
Okay, Mlungisi Mabaso, the MMC for housing, but I'd like to say to you, MMC, enforcing bylaws is not a national competency. It's something that the city, the municipality must be able to do. And the refuse piling up on our streets can't be a national competency and national having to deal with that. But thank you so much for making time for us. Mlungisi Mabaso is the MMC for housing in the City of Johannesburg.